Welcome back to another episode of the Loco Fit Show, where we redefine what healthy means to you. I'm your host, Loretta Conlin, and this week I'm joined by my mom, and we're going to talk about all things budget, credit cards, just really like finances in general, some essentials that you need to know. And I thought this would be a really great podcast to kick off the year because especially after the holidays, a lot of people, of course, are spending extra money on gifts and different things and travel. So if you are someone who is looking to improve your finances this year, which if you guys listened to the New Year's resolution podcast, I actually talked about that on there, which was super interesting. So this year, the most highly chosen out of this one survey resolution was improve fitness. And the second one was improve finances. So a lot of people, of course, just given the economy right now, are certainly focused on this. So let's kick this off with budgeting, because that's the easiest way I think that we can dive into this conversation.
Absolutely. I think that when you think of a budget, a lot of people get scared, right? They don't know where to start, or they put it off. It's just one of those things they don't have the time to sit down and do. And really, it's something that you don't have the time not to do. Because if you don't set a budget, you really are just shooting in the dark. And as you just said, could show up at the end of the year with a boatload of debt that perhaps could have been avoided. Sometimes it can't, by having that budget. So starting small. You can use an Excel worksheet. You can write it down on a piece of paper, right? You just need to know where to start. So the first thing you want to do, determine your income. Pretty simple if you are not self-employed, right? Because if you're self-employed, that can be all over the place. But even if you are self-employed, you should know where you ended up last year or the year before, know what your income is, and then start tracking your debts. And when I say debts, you really need to look at what's important first. That's going to be your household debts, right? So a simple worksheet could include your household debts would be your mortgage, your rent payment, your utilities, your insurance, whether you're a renter or if you're a homeowner. If you have a fee, homeowners association fee, those all have to be listed.
Those are my favorite.
Eye roll. Those are the things that you need to have there for your household because they're really non-negotiable when you think about it. The second part would be auto expenses. If you do not own a car, but you take transportation, you might live where there's a subway or a train. But if you have your car, you have to think, well, today I'm putting gas in the car, but am I going to need tires? Am I going to need some type of service? How much do you drive your car? It's got to be in there because you just can't put gas in the car and make the car drive, right? So you look at that, again, can't really be avoided. You've got to get to work or to wherever you're going. You need that on there. Then you have your living. Living expenses are going to be your food. And I'm talking about food that you buy and put in the refrigerator, not going out to eat. We'll talk about that in a moment. But food and things that you need in your house, your clothes, hair, you could say, well, who needs to get their hair done? Well, you do. If you work in a job or out in the public, you need to have your hair done. You might not need eyelash extensions or those things, again, would fall into the discretionary. But hair, anything that you're going to have to go to the barber, get a beard shaved. Did I say that right? Do you get your beard shaved or is that trimmed? I don't know. I don't have one.
Well, I think it would be a trim, right?
I don't know.
I guess a shave would be
Maybe
it's all gone.
Could tell us.
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Let us know. Because a lot of people, need to have that taken care of in order. And even your nails. Depends what you do. For all the years I was in finance, I had my nails done because I was shaking hands and talking to people. Yeah. You want that done. It
wasn't like a requirement, but it was kind of a understood. You kind of
need to be put together unless you can do it yourself. And then you've got medical and health. And again, something you can't avoid. If you're working in the corporate space and you have insurance, you still have a copay. You still have to, go and pay something when you're going to go get a prescription. Sometimes they're free. Sometimes they're not. So looking at the cost of the medical as well as all those other incidentals, I mean, you don't realize all those things add up. But when you go get your teeth done and next thing they tell you need something else done. And
there's always something.
Right, there's always something.
But if you don't go for a while, then there's definitely going to be something.
Right. Well, and that's the other important thing, taking care of yourself. Whole nother podcast. And then I always include in there too, your gym membership, right? I mean, people say, well, that's discretionary. Well, it is and it isn't because staying healthy by going to the gym will keep some of those costs down, right? Children, they're always wonderful. We love them. Yes. But if they have an expensive...
So inexpensive.
Oh, yes. I could have retired at 40. If you have a child that is dependent upon you still, and you are paying for their education, or their school uniforms, right? You have to include that, their clothing, their school lunches if you're not making their lunch, whatever it might be, you've got to factor them in. If you don't have children, little extra, or dependent children, little extra money you can put towards your retirement account. Taxes, we all have to pay them, right? So you know what you've paid year over year. Again, if you're self-employed, pretty easy because you know what you've paid last year unless your business has changed. And if you're working, in the corporate world, pretty much they're all taken out. Some states have state tax. We live in the great state of Florida. We don't have state income tax, so that helps us. But again, just budgeting for those. And then your real estate taxes. If you own a house, those can change drastically. Again, in a state like Florida, you can see those going up year over year. So making sure you know what those are, put those on your budget. And then lastly is the discretionary. This is where it can make or break your whole life because it gets out of hand. We forget. We sign up for a subscription to Hulu. Next you have Netflix, and then you don't cancel them, and you don't know how. And I have an iCloud, and I have and I have this app, right? All those discretionary things, those really add up. And it's not to say don't do them. It's to say budget properly for them. And when I tell people to start their budget or redo their budget every year, looking at it again for the first few months, because everything changes. And you might say, oh, I budget this much for my electric bill. But really, what is it over? Look at it for the whole year so you can budget it accordingly, because month by month it's going to change. If you live in the heat, if you live in the cold, right? But again, back to the discretionary, that's the one you really got to write it down, because all the other ones show up on your credit card, or if you're writing checks or however you're paying for that. A lot of times those discretionary ones don't, if you're paying cash and you're just handing it out or just buying something here and there and you're not tracking it. Once the budget is done, I think that's when you can really start working on your full financial health, right? Again, for the year. This is done every single year because things change. Mm-hmm. You might want to buy a house. You might have a child and you didn't plan on having a child. You might adopt a dog. I mean, all these things that come into life that all of a sudden that budget that you wrote isn't any good any longer.
Or if you are renting and the rent goes up. Yeah. I mean, I've heard horror stories lately, especially in Florida, because everybody's moving here. There's limited inventory and they're just raising. I mean, it could raise, it's $1,000 more a month. Yeah.
And the homeowners association fees. Some people, all of a sudden they get a letter and it says it's going up. Regular insurance fees, which we'll talk about in a moment. So all that, you should revisit your budget minimal annually, but I would say making sure that you're really writing down, and sometimes it's eye-opening to see what you've really spent. Mm-hmm. A lot of credit card companies will give you a year-end statement, and that gives you a nice look at it. But if not, you can, again, if you're a cash earner, a lot of people make tips and stuff and they spend it in cash and they're not keeping track. So keep it a simple journal. You can write these things down just in those categories. You'll be able to figure it out. Or if you rent with a roommate and you're giving them the cash because they're paying the bill, just write it down and then you'll know where you're going. Another thing that's real important besides the budget is making sure, how are you going to continue to buy these things? Credit, right? A lot of people use credit for everything. People don't think about their credit report as much unless they're going to buy a house or maybe buy a car. But your credit score is so important for so many other things. Even insurance companies run your credit score. If you're renting, they could change the rent based off of, if they think you don't have a good credit score, you're not going to pay your rent maybe. You can easily check your credit score every year. Government gives us one free credit score a year. Annualcreditreport.com is one of them. I think creditbureau.com. You can Google them. Don't pay for it. There's no need to. They'll mail it to you. A lot of people sign up for free credit services like through their credit card. That's not the full report. So a lot of people get that and they say, I saw every month it says that I'm fine. That's not showing you what's outstanding on your credit and what you could potentially fix, because there are people who have common names. I've seen it many times where a junior and a senior have got their credit mixed up and somebody's getting a debt on there. And it may not even be that the person's not paying that debt or that it's a bad debt, but it could just be too many debts, and that's also changing your score. So get a copy of it, look at it. There's a way to submit. There's 3 different credit bureaus that make up one score, and you can submit to all of them or just to the one that it's on, get it fixed, and making sure that you keep your credit score It's really nice to be above a 700. 740 is really the golden rule when you're buying things, such as a mortgage. If you're 740 and above, you're always going to get the best rate. So even renting a car, they will look at your credit score. And again, I've known people say, oh, they told me my credit score was the reason I paid a higher rate than somebody else in renting a car. I didn't even know they could do that, but they do. That's
we'll
also,
put that link.
Yeah.
We'll put that link in the show notes because I think a lot of people wouldn't know where to go for that. And if you run it too many times, don't you doesn't that like ding your credit, or is that for something else?
People always ask that. They would say, I don't want to take out another credit card because I don't want my credit pulled, right? So there is a soft pull and there's a hard pull. Soft pull is what your credit card company and your mortgage company does all year long. They are going to look at you usually every year. They're doing a soft pull. You're not taking out new credit. But a hard pull is when you are going to take out new credit. And you are correct. If you do a pull on your credit, your score can go down 3 points, 5 points. I always tell people, if you're not looking to buy a house or buy something big, a car, a boat, an RV right now, it's okay, because when that drops down, it goes right back up. The Bureau is only looking at your credit once a month, and so it will go back up. What will pull your credit down faster is not paying your debts on time, of course. We all have had errors, right? And you make a mistake and you think you paid your credit card payment and you didn't. Sometimes you can go back to the credit card company and ask them to take that off. They might not. Know that if you continue to just pay on time, that'll fix itself over time. But don't be afraid to apply for a new credit card or credit because you think your score is going to drop. As long as you're paying as agreed, your score will go back up. And sometimes it's worth it, which I'll talk about in a moment, to get a different credit card company because of the benefits that you could have if you need it.
If you were in debt, you probably wouldn't recommend that though, right? Like if you're already having trouble with your credit cards, probably not a good idea to open another one, or...
It would depend. So if you are someone who is not in control of your spending and you are already in debt, you probably shouldn't take out another one just to get another one. But as we'll talk about when we look at reviewing your credit for the year through credit card companies, sometimes it's better if you are going to just transfer debt that you currently have and to get a better rate maybe or a better term with a different company. One thing about credit scores, there's different categories. There's revolving credit, which is a credit card company. There's when you have a mortgage, of course. Your mortgage is the holy grail, right, of credit score. If you have a home, if you are a homeowner and you have a mortgage and you're paying it on time, that is the best way for your credit to stay high. A lot of our clients that are retired want to pay their house off. They pay their house off because they don't need the mortgage any longer, and they see their credit score drop. And they all freak out. Why did my credit score drop? Now, we're not talking that it drops into, the bad range, but it will because a mortgage is what keeps it going. Then you have installment loans, which are usually car loans or boat loans or even student loans, which are set payments that go over a certain amount of time. That gets you in there. And then credit cards. So a lot of times people will, to your point, try to clean up their credit, and they will pay off one of their credit cards, but they don't close it. And when they don't do that, now they still have what's called a trade line out there, and it's sitting there open, and that can also be held against them in their credit score. So you also don't want to have too little of trade lines, because it's another way to have bad credit. People say, I'm going to get out of debt, I'm going to pay these all off, and I'm going to close out my credit cards. But closing them out can also pull your credit score down if you close too many and don't have enough trade lines for them to judge. So it's nice to have about 3 revolving credit lines, really no more than that, and 3 that you use. And even if you use one primarily, use the other one once or twice a year, and it keeps it going so it looks like you have the trade lines. Okay? And so that rolls right into reviewing your credit cards, right? One of the most important things right now, the world is consumed in credit card debt. We've been like this for years, but we were paying low rates. So you don't pay a rate on a credit card unless you have a balance. Bank allows you 30 days to pay that off, right? Technically longer if you buy it today, depending upon when your statement cuts. But if you don't pay it off or you can't pay it off at the end of the month, that's when you have to look at what is the rate that I'm paying. It's tied to prime. Prime's the rate that's been going up lately. And so where we had people that were paying maybe 13% on their credit card, they're now seeing that they could be paying 24% on their credit card. Some even higher in the 30s, right? And if your credit score is lower, then of course the rate you're paying is higher, right? So it's a double-edged sword. So the first thing to do when you're looking at reviewing your credit cards, how many credit cards do I have? Look at the ones you have at the stores. They don't usually do much for you. Yeah, you took it out because you got the free scarf or whatever when they gave it to you, or the free 20% that day or for the first month. Usually those cards have no true benefits in them. Again, I don't say run out there and close them all out, but look at what you have and look at what the interest rate is. It's going to be really hard to find in the fine print. You pick up the phone, you call and say, what is my rate? Okay. Number one, that's most important. What is the fee? How much am I paying for this card? I recently sent you an email and said you have a card that you're paying a fee on. Don't know if you still want this. This is the benefit of the card. If you do, is it worth it to pay this fee, right? I have a lot of credit cards through my company that I pay fees on. Why? Because the benefit for me outweighs the cost, but it might not for you, right? If you're not using those benefits. So find out what the fee is, find out what the rate is. Of course, your credit line is very important. You always want to stay, if you are keeping a balance out there on the card, you really always want to stay under 50% of that credit line. So if your credit line is $10,000, don't have $7,000 on that card. Have no more than $5,000 on that card, because as soon as you cross over that 50% line, it starts pulling your score down again, right? Even if you pay it off the next month. If you have strong credit, you don't really have to worry about it. It'll build back up. But if you have a low credit score that you're already trying to fix, by having that over that 50 and definitely over the 70% limit, that's going to make your credit score stay down. So then in your point, sometimes it does make sense to get another credit card, and then you can transfer some of that debt, which is also a really good point. You can call your credit card company, ask them if you have a balance out there, can they lower the rate, even if they lower it for a year, right? So you can start paying it off. If not, if they won't, well, then look around for other credit cards, because there are credit cards that, again, if your credit score is good enough that you can get another credit card, they will do what's called a balance transfer. Sometimes it's a zero fee to balance transfer, sometimes even a bonus to balance transfer, and they might give you 6 months, 12 months at 0% interest rate. But a lot of people do that, and then they sit back on that, and then a year comes up and they're like, oh, snap, now I've got to put all this money back in there because I haven't been paying that. So it's like doing your homework on anything, right? You got to write that plan and then figure out what you have. Because if you just leave it out there, you could be paying more money to the banks just to borrow that money. And look, there's sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes, your kids are sick, your dog had to go to the vet, had to have surgery, it was $2,000, you got to put it on a credit card, right? Happens. But pay down the highest rates first. Pay the minimum always, bare minimum always. Pay the ones that have the highest rates the most extra, and that's how you work towards getting yourself out of debt. But really, the credit card companies are pretty good at working with you. Hopefully, if you call them, they'll give you a break for a little bit of time, not forever.
When you say if you have good enough credit, right? Like there's been like this distinction, and I know there's not hard numbers. I know you said 740 is, the kind of the perfect, of course, zone, but what is up until what point, or roughly, do you think they would be willing to work with you? And then at what point are they like, no, go fuck yourself. Like you haven't paid for years.
They probably wouldn't say that. It's not about working with you with the credit score. That would be more so about getting a new card, right? If you're already in debt to them, they know you've got to pay, right? So they're going to look at how you've been paying and how much. That's why I said they might only extend you 6 months. They might only extend you. And when I say extend you, I'm talking about just lowering the rate. They're never going to extend you for any other reason. Credit card's there to make business, right? I mean, it's the moneymaker of the banks. People think it's fees at the banks. Most banks have got rid of their fees now. If you're banking with a bank that's still charging you astronomical fees for the banking portion, get rid of them. They make their money off of the interest on the credit cards, right? I mean, that's a big thing. So to look at a credit score, we've given credit to people in the 600s. You're in the 500s, you probably got a problem there. You're going to need to build that up. One of the worst things you can do is try to go to these credit card companies or these companies that say, we're going to fix your credit. They just want a fee. The best way to fix your credit is to pay it back. Pay it back quick, as fast as you can. And like I said, start with the ones that have the highest rate, right? Pay those back first and make sure everybody else is getting paid back. And don't extend yourself anymore. You can't say go make more money. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. Wouldn't we all like to be able to go out and make more money? And some people can't stop the debts they have, right? They're just bleeding, but they can stop some of the silly purchases they make, the things that they don't need, those discretionary things that we talked about, right? But in some cases, some people just do need to have help. And so you have to be able to sit down and say, where can I get that help? And you can go look at, and we can put those links there too, Better Money Habits. Bank of America does a lot of YouTube videos. We partnered with Khan Academy many, many years ago, and they will show you how to save for buying a house, how to call credit card companies and what to say to them and how to talk to them. My job as a financial planner and private banker was to help people never get into that situation. But when you're already there, we have experts that will help them get out. But just really, there's no need to pay somebody for that because they're usually just taking that money. They're taking their money before they're helping you get out of your debt. Another thing you can do to save money, perhaps, is to review your insurance policies. Whether you have renter's insurance on your rental apartment or homeowner's insurance or even auto insurance. Every year it renews. It's an auto renewal. And medical, for your work, you have choices, right? You don't necessarily go out and buy the insurance, but every year the plan comes up and it says, hey, it's time to look at your plan for next year. You can keep the same one, it'll roll, or you can pick a new one. So look at yourself first. If it's medical, have I been using that medical policy? Do I need the one with the highest deductible or the lowest deductible, right? You might take a high deductible because you never go to the doctors and it's a cheaper plan. You still need insurance, right? Catastrophic. That car accident, you're never going to get yourself out of that debt if you don't have insurance, right? But do you need the one that was, the most expensive one when you had a child that was on your dependent plan? Like when I had you on my plan till you were 26. When I didn't have you any longer, I looked at just me, right? What do I need? Your dad looks at what he needs. So you have to look at the plan. Same with your house. Do I have enough coverage? Never be too cheap. If you have a mortgage, the bank's not going to let you cheapen out. But if you own your own home outright, you still need to have a good policy. But call your agent and say, is this the best deal I can get? Right? I called recently and lowered my auto insurance. You recently saw a change in your homeowner's insurance. It was over $1,000.
Yeah, it's like $1,000 for no change to the policy.
No change at all. Right? You also changed your medical policy, and we found a new company that allowed you to pay up front the whole year. Not everybody can do that, but for you being self-employed, that made total sense. Thousands.
Yeah.
That was a huge savings, right? And you still get the same. It's not like you went with some wonky donkey company. You're still with a good company, and it still works. We might have changed your deductible too, but still the fact that you paid one payment instead of 12 made a difference. So you did a double savings there. Right? And with the auto insurance, I was able to save. And you can even take an online course. Not every insurance company, but a lot of insurance companies, you go online and you take this little online driving type course. And people always thought that was just for, AARP or something, but AAA does it. And any age. So it depends on your insurance company. It also depends on...
A driving course.
Mm-hmm. You just do an online course.
Oh, like they can see that you're proficient.
I've never taken it. I've never taken it. My insurance company doesn't offer it, but a lot do. And you can just take an online course that just says that you've taken this course and you get a little check mark. And even if it saves you $100 a year, who cares? $50, $20. People always say, oh my God, that's so much work to do that. I always say, if you were walking down the sidewalk and you saw a $20 bill, would you just say, oh, it's just too much work to bend over and pick it up? You know me, I pick up everything. Yeah. But still, it is work. And you and I have had this conversation many times, right? I can spend a lot of time on something that may seem to you like, why'd you spend all that time? But I look at it, if I have the time, why not get the best deal? If I'm buying the same product, the same hotel, the same trip, and maybe it's a day earlier, a different time, I'll spend that, and then I call you and give you 100 options, right? But in the end, we get the trip we want, and we've saved money for the same thing. So insurance companies, easy to work with. There may be nothing for you this year. I've called many a times and there's been nothing. This year was just one of those years where I saved on the auto, you saved on both medical and your homeowners. Mm-hmm. So it was a big win. And then when you look at, all these things that you're cutting back and making on your savings, what do you do with that money, right? So you want to make sure that you're contributing to your 401k or your IRA. If you're in the corporate world, you have a 401k, you're contributing, most likely there's a company match. You have to contribute a certain amount to get that match. So I say at the bare minimum, put in what they're going to match, but you should max out your contribution. Again, people will say, I can't afford to do that. I say you can't afford to not do that, right? Because if you want to have a plan, like I had a plan that I wanted to retire at 60 years old, it wouldn't have happened if I didn't contribute to my 401k the way I did. And sometimes it was very aggressive. Sometimes it couldn't be. When I was paying for a private education for you and different things, I had to pull back on that. But then when you got back out of my household and into your own household, I was able to start tonning up extra money in there. And whether it's another 2% increase, you really don't see it because it's before taxes. And if you're self-employed like you, then you do your max on your IRA. There's a possible tax deduction. I can't speak to your tax accountant, but it is also very important, not just for the tax deduction, but also when it is time to retire. I remember an advisor telling me when I was 18, I was a teller in a bank, and he told me back then you could only contribute $2,000 a year to an IRA. And he said to me, if you put $2,000 every single year, by the time you retire, you'll have $1 million. And this was in 1980. And I was like, $1 million? How am I going to have $1 million by putting $2,000 in there? It's crazy how much you can really have.
Wait, is that really true?
It's very true. Yes. Your money will multiply in an investment account. It is certainly based on the investments that are in there, right? When you're younger, you're going to hopefully allow your advisor to be a little more strategic with your money and maybe a little riskier because you can afford the risk when you're young. As you're getting up in age, you will start dropping that risk down because you're going to need that money sooner. But yes, absolutely. If you put that money in there, and $1 million might not have been a lot of money in today's world, right? But it certainly could be. And if I would have known then, I would have started putting it in sooner. I didn't start really aggressively saving until I was in my 20s, late 20s. And then I really paid attention, and I was able to follow my plan and be able to retire at 60. So comfortably. And that's the big thing, being able to know how you want to live in retirement. And some of your listeners may be so far away from retirement, they're just thinking, I just got to get day by day right now. But you got to have a short-term plan and a long-term plan. So maxing out your 401k or your IRA can really, really help you. And back to the saving money or just remembering to set the budget, all of those things that you do, I go back to that discretionary piece all the time. Love to go to Starbucks. Now, you're a person who goes to Starbucks, and if you're not buying a nitro brew, you're buying a regular coffee. It's not that expensive, right? However,
it's just as expensive.
Right,
it is just as expensive.
It is more expensive than making the coffee at home. Yes. I will say that. Right? But if you got a black cup of coffee versus somebody getting a fancy, I don't even drink those things. I just recently did and had a sugar high, and that was no good.
Called me. I'm in Starbucks. I had a sugar drink. I'm like, I'm running home now. I'm like, what does that even mean?
God, she pepperminted me to death. I don't know. It was really good, but I had a sick stomach, and I didn't stop. Didn't you
ask for like lower sugar too? And then she just completely sidetracked that?
We might have sidetracked. We started talking about something else. Okay. And then I think she forgot my whole low sugar part. And she did remember I didn't want whipped cream. I know that I paid $7 for a coffee that had a lot of sugar in it and definitely didn't need that. I had a wicked headache later.
No, those are So that's one of those things with the discretionary stuff, right? Like you have to choose what is worth it to you.
Of course.
What is worth saving, what is worth spending. And like for me, so everybody knows I love nitro. And yes, it is overpriced. I don't get anything else there. If they don't have nitro, sometimes if I'm like in a bind, I will get the cold brew. But like if I'm at home, I know, in a bind. No, but like if I'm at home, I'll just leave. I won't get it. But if I'm like traveling, if I'm at the airport, I'm like, okay, I don't want this as much, but I'm going to get this because I'm in the situation. Right. But I've gotten to a place where I'm like, all right, I pretty much try to not get that if I'm home. Only every once in a while, like, let me get a treat. I'll go to Starbucks. Or if I have to go, I have like an awkward time between like an appointment or something. I pretty much try to reserve that for like when I'm traveling. Like, all right, when I'm traveling, this is consistent. I can get egg white stuff there. That's usually like a travel breakfast. But it's not, I could easily go every day. I mean, anybody could go any day. And especially when I, was at the office, they have literally right across the street. Like, I mean, directly across, they opened one. And so it could just be so easy to just go all the time. Or, oh, I forgot my food. And yes, sometimes it happens. I didn't have time to meal prep. I got to go get this, or let me, whatever happens. But the idea is when you're reviewing these kinds of things, we do end up spending so much money that we don't need to just because we weren't necessarily prepared. Right.
Well, that's the biggest thing. It's like you said, if you want it, it's a treat. It's okay. If money is of no object to you, you can buy Starbucks all day long. And I just pick on Starbucks because I just know how expensive it is. And I just did it myself and thought that was nuts, $7 for this big ass cup of coffee, which was just sugar. But there's other things, right? Lunches, another example, whether it's meal prep because you're trying to do it healthy, which could be more important to you, right? But it could just be, I don't need to worry about that. I can go to a healthy place. It's still a cost. Why not plan accordingly? And again, it's not to say don't go out to lunch with the girls. Don't get lunch on Fridays. Friday, it's great. We go over to, Chipotle, someplace, right? But on those other days, if you're really trying to make a budget, that's why I say when you sit down and look at it, not just for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, look at that discretionary field. You want to go to a movie, right? Well, Sunday afternoon, I think they still have matinees. I can't tell you last time I went into a movie theater. I don't even watch movies. Very rarely. It's just because I'm not a big movie fan, right? It's not because I'm cheap, because I spend money on crazy other things, right? But if you went to a matinee, I'm going to guess it's probably still cheaper, right?
I think so. I really don't know.
Right. I do believe it is. Or your streaming services, right? I mean, do you need Hulu, Netflix? Do you need 6 apps?
Those are the ones that really add up because a lot of times they're recurring and sometimes you don't even really remember. You might get the notification a month before. Oh, hey, this is going to re-up. You're like, oh yeah, I'll cancel it. And if you really look through your phone, there are probably so many that you have on there that you don't need. And again, there are some that it's going to make sense. Like this is a non-negotiable for me. Like for me, like my monthly float membership, absolutely non-negotiable. For the $50 that I spend, what I get out of that, absolutely the best. There's very minimal other things that I have that are on like a recurring basis. Right. I have the yoga app, and then I have my meditation app, and then I have Spotify. Like that's literally it. Because I'm like, there's other things like, oh, it'd be nice to watch YouTube without the ads, but I'm like, I don't need it. Right. This would be. I probably don't need it. And to your
point, they will automatically charge you. Yeah. They do tell you. They have to now tell you a month in advance. But you just kind of forget. Sometimes that goes to spam, or you forget. And I got one. I had bought something and I got a free Apple TV membership for 3 months. I never turned it on once, right? So I totally forgot about it. But I signed up. They said you get it for free. I signed up. It clearly stated right there that I was going to be charged. So I had to make sure that I wrote it on my calendar. I wrote it on the calendar. I never called. No, I'm sorry. That wasn't the Apple TV. It was the Grubhub. Something where they deliver food. I would
Don't do that either, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right. I would never use that, but it was free. And I thought, well, if in a pinch, this could be great, right? It was, and then I got charged $8.99 for the month. And okay, the bank did help me out. I do work there and, they did go back and argue it for the 1 month.
Oh, she's senile. She forgot.
I did forget. But the Apple, the one I'm thinking on the Apple, is coming up because that was through something I'd purchased. And I do have that on my calendar for January. It's January 25th. Well, look at, here we are now. It's December 26th. And I'm like, oh, crap, I haven't canceled that yet. And it's going to hit my credit card. Just because it says January 25th, you need to cancel it way before then because you're in that automatic circle. So that's a lot of things people don't remember. But again, that's that discretionary, little things, like I said, add up, whether it's, getting your nails done. Okay, we all like to get our nails done, but do you have to have them done? Do you need the eyelashes done? Do you need to have all those things? Maybe depending upon what you do for a living, maybe not. Not to take away all your luxuries, but looking at them when you're making this budget, so important. The first thing to know is making the budget is, I wouldn't say it's the easy part. It's easy because you're going to write it down and it's almost like a fairy tale. Oh, this is what I want, right? How do I do it? Well, first thing to do is take 50% of your income and say, this is on expenses that I need to have. Right? And then take another 30% of the wants I want to have. And then your last 20%, your savings. If you categorize it that way, there's really no room for error, right? Except for extra money. And then you could put it in any of those buckets, right? But if you do that and make sure that you stick to it, because that's the other thing. You can write it down. You can review it. You got to stick to it. Look at your goals. What do you want? I knew in order to retire at 60, I had to downsize. Did I need a big house? No. Did I downsize to a tiny house? No. Still have a good enough size house. What was my biggest thing? Travel. I want to travel, right? So that was a line item that I put down that my advisor said to me, you're crazy. You're going to travel way more than that. That number needs to be changed. And we did. And I'm glad I did. But I thought, well, if that's in my discretionary, I can't afford that. But I could, because I could figure out other ways to cut other things, right? I can buy pants on Amazon. I can buy T-shirts on Amazon. I don't have to get compliments on those pants.
Oh, my God.
All the time.
That lady, though, have you seen her since?
No, don't go there because I'm scared.
God. We were at this restaurant, and you always get compliments on these pants. They're just like these, they're nice, but they're like just
basic yoga
kind of
bell bottoms.
Flowy, stretchy. Anyways, this lady who was clearly hammered was, she could not stop saying enough good things about it to the point where it was like, okay, thanks.
She was taking the label out of the back of my pants to take a picture of it, which was a little embarrassing.
Yeah, well, she first was saying that, and then she came back to write down, and then you were trying to get out of it. Oh, I'm not really sure. She's like, oh, and then just grabs
takes my pants.
God.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll drop the link for the pants.
Yeah, Satina, $18, $20, and they are awesome. And I do get compliments everywhere I wear them. I swear, any place I go, airports, hospitals, restaurants, apparently with drunks. I don't know. Maybe I should sell Satina pants.
Maybe, yeah.
I could stud them. Oh, there we got a whole new business. Anyway, another thing for another time. Back to our discretionary. Setting the discretionary budget, again, things pop up. A friend's birthday, somebody has a baby. I didn't plan on that. I got to buy them a gift. I'm going to the party, right? That's all okay. Also, though, what we always forget, and you are the worst at this, it's true. We donate things. You're not worse at that. You do donate, but then you don't get the receipts, or you don't, even if you're at the store and they say, would you like to add $2 to the Children's Foundation? You do keep that receipt, right? For tax purposes, that's going to help you at the end of the year. But someone who has, I won't call it hoarding problems, but someone who collects things like coffee mugs and has over 50 of them and then donates them, there's in-kind donations. There's furniture, there's clothes. I have no idea who would have had 50 coffee cups. But there are so many things that we donate, which is great, right? You feel good about donating, goes to Habitat for Humanity, whoever your cause is. But you're usually able to get back for this blouse, something, 30% back because it's an in-kind donation. We forget about it. Take a picture of the bag, keep the receipt that they give you, write down what you put in there. And you can Google it. I think it's Salvation Army does the IRS link, and it says a blouse is $2, a pair of pants is $5. You'd be surprised when you add that up how much good you've done, of course, but also how much you can get back. So you're saving by also doing something good. So, I would really say if you're looking to better yourself, again, to look to way to set a budget, go online. It doesn't have to be Bank of America. It just happens to be where I worked for 40 years and where we have all these links. If you are looking even to take a class at a local, a lot of times at local colleges will have these after hours, not a paid for class where you get credits. Somebody's speaking there because they're getting the credit, right? You can look for those. But there's plenty of things out there. If you look for an online budget, again, we can put one on there. I'll cut the name of the company off. I think you guys probably know who it is already. But you could certainly use that. Just make sure you're setting realistic numbers. Like I said, I didn't, right? I had budgeted. I had to have somebody wake me up and go, you're crazy. What are you going to stay in your house all year long? You're never going to move, and that's all you're going to budget for travel. You can breathe. You can do this. And, you get scared when you're trying to set a budget because you think it's like somebody's going to overlook this with you and make sure you're going to pass or fail. It's all about you. You go back and change it. Set realistic goals, look at it often, and make sure you're saving. Because that is, besides getting out of debt, which is number one, right? You have to get out of debt before you can even save. But getting out of debt and saving is probably going to be the thing that's going to make you also have a healthier life, right? Because of the stress. You're not going to be stressed if you're going to sleep every night knowing I don't have any money saved, or I'm in so much debt I don't know what to do. That's going to be another issue for medical, bigger problems down the road. So if you need help, there's lots of places out there that can help you, and you'll post all those links.
Yeah, I'll add all the links, and then we can even put together a basic spreadsheet too, that people can access. I'll figure out how to do that. I'm sure there's a way they can create a document.
Yeah.
I think through Google Sheets. I think there's a way to do that.
Okay. I can do it in Excel, but that's about all my knowledge goes. But
yeah, we'll figure it out, guys. I'm not too sure, so don't hold me to it, but I will try because it is really important. And just even like you said, the basics of like, here are the things I have to spend every month that are going to come out. Here's some like extras that could pop up, and then where are the discretionary things that maybe I have the ability to reduce. And sometimes it's just seeing everything all out that you can be like, oh my gosh, like there is a lot.
There's a lot.
Or I didn't realize I was doing this, okay, maybe I can go once or twice a week to Starbucks as that example,
doesn't
but
have to be
maybe
every day.
6 days a week. Maybe
or
too much.
sometimes it's the savings. People are like, again, I'm not going to clip a coupon. Like that seems so silly to clip a coupon. Again, every bank probably has it, but with our bank at Bank of America, when you're on your credit card page, there's all these coupons you can click on for different companies. They're tracking your spend. They know what you're spending. So they say, you can get 1% back on here, 2% back here if you shop with this link. You're still shopping there like you always would have. And those rewards add up. Even if it's $50 a year, it's $50 a year. Right? People don't realize how much is out there on reward points. People say, I love to watch the competitor. I don't even work there anymore, and I'm still worried about, the competitors. My company's better. But you look out there and it says, you get cash back up to 5%. Well, read the fine print. You do get 5% on that card that won't talk about, but it's only when you spend up to $500. Once you spent $501, you're not getting 5% anymore. So there are other cards, such as Bank of America's cash card, where same idea, but it's $2,500 in a quarter, right? So it depends on how much you spend. If you're never spending $500 a month, keep that card. It's great because you're never going to exceed that. But I've had clients that have said to me, you can't make any money off of credit cards. I beg to differ because you know how much money I make in my points and in my cards that turns back into money. And you want to make sure, is it what you want? I see people sliding airline credit cards all the time. Why? Because I get discounted airline or I can get this. But could you get cash back or points back that go into cash that are actually makes it better? And I've done these analysis for clients day over day, and they're like, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, because you're really getting points back that you can use. Not knocking a hotel credit card or an airline credit card. It might be the best for you, but it goes back to knowing what is the best for you. And what was the best for you 2 years ago when you took out the card might not be the best for you today. So whether it's a coupon that you're clipping, they don't have many of those anymore where you actually go to the grocery store and give a coupon, but most of the time it's online. Make sure that you're signing up for something that's not going to auto-renew, or if it does, you're going to be able to turn it off. That if you're using the coupon or the card for that coupon or the reward, that you're actually using the reward, and then look to see what the best one would be for you. Because usually just putting the money, not spending it and putting it in the bank, of course, is going to be the best, but that's no fun, right? Nobody wants to do that. There are people who do that, but you can't take it with you. So spend it, enjoy your life, but try not to go into debt doing it.
Yeah, these were super helpful tips, and we hope that doing this review to, start your year will really set you up for the right track. And like I said, when I started this, a lot of people are interested in improving their finances. And I think because lately just everything has become so expensive that people are just more hyper aware of it with inflation and everything else that's going on. So we really hope that this was helpful. We will add those links and possibly a spreadsheet if I can figure that out. So for all other questions or inquiries about coaching, consulting, you can send us an email or visit teamlocofit.com, and we'll talk to you guys next week.